Even though we were both his sons, my older brother idled his days away, while I worked like a horse in the fields all day. Yet my father would constantly beat and scold me. Even the job opportunity I fought so hard for, my father forced me to give to my brother. In my past life, I chose to swallow my pride and stay home, barely surviving by scavenging for scraps. Later, I humiliatingly became a live-in son-in-law in the mountains. Relying on my diligence, I saved up a little money but was completely scammed out of it by a friend. I even dragged my wife into a lifetime of hardship. Reborn into this life, I am determined to return to the Xinggan Mountains. Starting with hunting, I will give my wife a truly stable and comfortable life. Once my mind was made up, I bought a train ticket to the northeast that very day. After several transfers, I finally arrived in Li Qing, the mountain heartland of my dreams. Right after getting off the train, I headed straight to the supply cooperative, planning to buy some basic tools to prepare for heading into the mountains. Once I had bought all the necessities, I had very little money left in my pocket. I could only helplessly look away from the corner, pulling my gaze from the chainsaws and hunting rifles. Turning around, I found at the bike repair stall by the door a damaged bicycle inner tube, thinking I could make a slingshot myself in the mountains. Walking out of the supply cooperative, I headed straight towards the mountains. After crossing a few ridges, a village with dozens of households appeared before my eyes. That was exactly Chusheng, my home in my past life. But I didn't want to show up as a stranger and suddenly intrude to alarm the villagers. After all, I had no land or household registration now. If things went wrong, I'd be arrested as a vagrant. So I bypassed the village and continued deeper into the forest. After about 3 kilometers, I stopped at a sunny, wind-sheltered hollow. I chose a flat piece of land suitable for building and set down my luggage. From this moment on, this place would be called Xushui. I firmly believed that more people would come here in the future, turning it into a bustling new settlement. The first priority right now was to build a place to stay. Time was tight, so I could only build a simple shelter first. I grabbed my axe and saw to gather materials on the spot. In less than 2 hours, the main frame was built. Then I walked along the riverbank and cut a lot of dry thatch. I layered it onto the frame from bottom to top and carefully tied it securely with old vines. Finally, I laid the remaining thatch on the ground, and just like that, a temporary dwelling was complete. Looking up, I realized it was already evening. I simply cooked a bowl of rice porridge and made do with a bite of soybean paste. Then I started pondering my future plans. Such bland food wouldn't sustain me for long before I grew weak. Deep in these mountains, meat and fat were the most practical things. I had to start hunting as soon as possible. Moreover, living alone in the mountains, if I wanted guaranteed safety, I needed to build a sturdier dwelling. Building a dugout also had to be put on the agenda. Looking at the bicycle inner tube by the bed, I decided to use the remaining daylight. I grabbed my axe to look for slingshot materials nearby, and soon found a dry fiberglass tree to use its branches for a slingshot frame. Taking the branch back to my shelter, I quickly made 3 slingshots. My heart was full of anticipation. Whether I could eat meat tomorrow would all depend on them. Early the next morning, I grabbed a quick bite to eat and headed up the mountain with my slingshots. Not long after entering the forest, I spotted a squirrel hopping on the branches. Squirrel meat tastes pretty good, and its pelt could fetch a good price at the state-run store. I immediately stood my ground and drew my slingshot. Along with a soft snap, a squirrel fell from the tree trunk to the ground. Its 4 little legs twitched incessantly. I walked over, picked up the squirrel, and stuffed it into my satchel. Continuing my search in the woods, it wasn't long before I shot down a second one. I also found the tree hole where the squirrel had been hiding. Inside, there were quite a few hazelnuts, pine nuts, and walnuts. I roughly estimated there to be over a pound. I simply gathered all these nuts up. Roasting them in an iron pot back home would make for a rare snack. Throughout the entire morning, I wandered around the forest. In the end, I hunted a total of 6 squirrels and raided 2 squirrel nests, harvesting nearly 4 pounds of nuts. It was definitely a good start. In this era where the daily wage is only a few cents, selling these intact squirrel pelts to the state-run store would equal half a month's salary. Seeing that it was getting late, I took a shortcut back to my place, carrying my full harvest. Unexpectedly, a pheasant was startled on the way. It didn't fly far before landing on a nearby branch. I immediately drew my slingshot fully. With another crack, the pheasant squawked and flapped its wings a few times before falling to the ground. To have such a catch right before getting home, it seems my luck is truly good today. Returning to the shelter, I used a knife to peel off the squirrel pelts one by one, propping them up with small sticks to dry. Picking 2 out of the 6 squirrels, I roasted them over the fire pit. After lightly salting the remaining 4, I hung them by the fire pit to smoke. After a short while, the squirrel meat over the fire started sizzling with fat, slowly turning golden brown. A rich, roasted aroma filled the air. I gently tore off a piece and put it in my mouth. A fresh scent of pine nuts instantly spread in my mouth. It was crispy on the outside and tender on the inside, not dry or tough at all. It truly is a delicacy among wild game. With this delicious food, this lunch became exceptionally flavorful. After eating and drinking my fill, I grabbed the hoe and pickaxe and started digging a pit in the clearing next to the shelter. preparing to build a safe underground dugout. The Singan Mountains aren't just home to small animals. There are also many large beasts of prey. Who knows when they might wander over here? So I had to prepare in advance. Over the next 3 days, I took my slingshot and axe up the mountain every morning to hunt squirrels. In the afternoon, I stayed at my place, digging the pit and chopping trees. As my area of activity expanded, I could shoot down 5 or 6 squirrels every morning. It wasn't long before I accumulated nearly 26 squirrel pelts, and the side of the fire pit was covered in smoked meat. Seeing that it was likely going to snow again these days, I didn't go out on the 4th day, focusing entirely on getting the dugout built first. The 1.5 meter deep pit had already been dug, and plenty of the necessary logs had been chopped. I set up the pillars, and then placed the crossbeams, laying the logs tightly one by one. Relying on simple mortise and tenon joints and large nails, I made the dugout extremely sturdy. Afterwards, I laid a thick layer of woolly sedge on the roof, and a cellar with a small door and window was completed. Then, I set up the stove and chimney. Once all the work was done, I felt a lot more at ease. I finally had a safe and reliable home. That very same day, I took all the pelts I had gathered over the past few days and went to the purchasing point of the state-run store. After selling everything, I received a total of 35 yuan and 25 cents, even though this amount of money doesn't seem like much. In that era, a logger at a forestry farm earned less than 30 yuan a month, and I had only been working hard for a few days, hunting nothing but small animals. Looking at the mountains full of wild goods, I was even more certain that returning to these deep mountains was the best choice. After using the money to buy some new food and tools, he didn't stay long, and returned to my dugout early. Not long after I entered the room, a light snow began to fall outside. I quickly lit the stove fire, and didn't leave the house all day, wrapping myself in a coat and sitting by the fire. Made a steamer with the tools I bought, which I could use to steam rice, buns, and stuffed buns. Next, I carved wooden ladles, buckets, and other wooden utensils. Slowly, the dugout was filled with more and more stuff. It gradually started looking like a home. After I finished working, I steamed some sorghum rice for myself, and stewed a pheasant with soybean paste. While the food was stewing, since it wasn't completely dark yet, I popped out of the dugout to take a look. Everything around was a vast expanse of white. Just as I was about to turn around and head back inside, I suddenly caught sight of a few roe deer pacing nearby. I immediately hurried back inside and started preparing the wire snares under the lantern light, planning to set them up first thing in the morning. Even though roe deer pelts weren't worth much, making a mattress out of them would be great for keeping the bitter winter cold at bay. As for the roe deer meat, that goes without saying. One roe deer would be enough to eat for a long time, and the taste was absolutely unforgettable. To ensure I could catch a roe deer, I also prepared a secret weapon. I found a wooden bowl, put it on the ground, peed into it until it was more than half full, and just left it outside. This was a trick I learned from the locals in Chusheng in my past life. Human urine has a salty taste, and most animals in the mountains need to replenish their salt intake. To a roe deer, this is an extremely attractive bait. Paired with the wire snares, the success rate would skyrocket. When morning came the next day, the urine in the wooden bowl had frozen solid. After scattering a few wire snares nearby, I grabbed my axe and slingshot, ready to head up the mountain. But before I could walk a few steps, a sudden rush noise came from the woods opposite me. I looked closely, and my heart instantly leaped into my throat. I saw a scrawny, emaciated black bear. It was digging into a tree trunk with one paw, while frantically scratching at it with the other. I quickly realized what was going on. Looking at its agitated state, 9 times out of 10, it was digging for honey, and couldn't stand being stung by the bees. At the thought of honey, my eyes immediately lit up. In this era of scarcity, honey was a rare and valuable commodity. I decided to wait on the sidelines and go check it out after the bear left. If there were bees, I would collect them and take them back to raise. As long as the queen bee was alive and well, it would work. Just then, the faint sound of barking echoed from the woods opposite me. The sound was getting closer, at an incredibly fast speed. The next moment, a large yellow dog dashed out from the woods, barking furiously at the black bear. Right after, 2 even larger spotted dogs rushed over. I recognized them at a glance. These were the big rustic dogs unique to northeast China. They were the fiercest branch of the Chinese rural dogs. A single one's strength might not match a famous hunting dog, but their intelligence was unmatched by other hounds. They were excellent hunting companions. I couldn't help but feel a pang of envy, thinking about how great it would be if I had a pack of hunting dogs like that. But before I could think too much, the situation suddenly changed. The large yellow dog took the lead and lunged at the black bear. The 2 spotted dogs closely followed and joined the fight. The black bear was suddenly attacked from both front and back, with bees continuously stinging its head, and 3 hunting dogs relentlessly tearing at it from all sides. It quickly saw red, as if the ferocity in its bones had been awakened. It quickly took down 2 of the hunting dogs. The last remaining spotted dog was so terrified it tucked its tail and ran away. But the now furious black bear wouldn't let it off so easily. It immediately roared and chased after it. Before long, they disappeared into the woods. The next moment, 3 gunshots suddenly rang out from the forest. It seemed the dog's owner had arrived. I secretly hoped the hunter would kill the bear in one shot, but right after, a miserable howl rang out. My heart instantly skipped a beat. I had a bad feeling. I feared the hunter missed the bear and became its target instead. In my moment of shock, someone suddenly rushed out the woods. The crazed bear was hot on his heels. Seeing this scene, my heart jumped into my throat. I thought to myself, this guy is probably a goner. Unsurprisingly, just as he reached the river, the bear caught up to him. With a vicious paw strike, he screamed in pain and was tossed into the raging river. He was instantly swept far away. The bear then slowly calmed down. It shook its head and limped into the woods. Once the bear was out of sight, he dared not delay. I rushed down to the riverbank and chased along the water. A few minutes later, I finally saw him at a slow-flowing bend. Ignoring the freezing water, I jumped in and pulled him ashore, but he was already motionless. On his exposed skin, shocking deep wounds exposed his bones. Thinking quickly, I instantly started drowning rescue. After pressing for a while, he finally spat out some water and coughed violently. My tense heart finally relaxed. At least his life was saved, but his wounds needed urgent care. I recalled Wang Dimin, our barefoot doctor. Without any hesitation, I carried him toward the village. A full 4 kilometers of mountain trails. I don't know what kept me going. Pushing open Wang Dimin's gate, I saw the old man sharpening a knife. Out of breath, I shouted, "Uncle, help." Wang Dimin quickly trotted over and asked anxiously, "What happened?" He then urged me to bring him inside. I put the man on the Kang bed and briefly explained the situation. Just then, his wife Li Qing returned. She leaned in for a look and suddenly cried out, "Oh my, isn't this Xu Yu's brother, Xu Qing?" Hearing that name, my heart jolted violently. Xu Shentun only had one Chen Xu Yu. She was my wife from my past life. I couldn't help but ask, "Auntie, which Xiu do you mean?" "The one from our village. He's their family's only son." Li Qing replied. My heart was instantly in turmoil. In my past life, my wife always said, her brother died hunting in the mountains. I never expected that in this life. I'd be the one to save him. "Young man, it's all handled. He'll recover after 2 months of rest," Wang Dimin said with a deep sigh. But now, my figure couldn't stop shivering. I must have caught a chill in the river. Being all alone in the deep mountains. Getting sick was no small matter, so I said to Wang Dimin, "Uncle, please give me some cold medicine too." Wang Dimin felt my forehead and exclaimed, "Good heavens, you have a fever." He quickly got me medicine from his kit and asked his wife to find clean clothes. I declined the clothes. I just took some herbs and dried peppers and handed him 50 yuan before leaving. He was stunned at the time. $50 was no small sum back then, and logically speaking, the Chen family should have been the ones paying, but I insisted on leaving it. Chusheng is the only male in the Chen family. With him immobilized for the next 2 months, the mother and daughter will definitely have a hard time. The extra money can be considered my contribution to their living expenses. In this life, since I've shown up early, I absolutely cannot let Chen Xiuyu suffer anymore. Returning to the dugout, the first thing I did was change into dry clothes. After eating something simple, I planned to take a good rest for the day and go to bed early. But just as I was getting into bed, I heard the cry of a roe deer outside. My heart leaped with joy. It must have been caught in my snare. I grabbed my knife and crawled out of the dugout. Sure enough, I saw a large roe deer thrashing around by the snare, desperately trying to break free from the loop around its neck. I immediately rushed over, grabbed it firmly, and plunged the knife into its neck. I held on until it stopped breathing. While warming myself by the fire, I gutted the roe deer. I scraped the fat off its hide, stretched it on a frame, and hung it in the small shed to dry. Then I brought the meat into the dugout, rubbed it with salt, and hung it by the earthen stove to smoke. After over an hour of busy work, I finally got everything sorted out. When I woke up early the next morning, I felt completely refreshed. My cold was gone thanks to taking medicine in time. I picked up my axe and headed to where Chen Xuqing was attacked by the black bear yesterday. First, I wanted to confirm if those were indeed bees in the tree. Second, I wanted to see if those 2 hunting dogs were still alive. Over half an hour later, I arrived under the large linden tree by the riverbank. Just as I thought, there was a swarm of northeast black bees in the tree. Then I saw the spotted dog and the black dog from yesterday. They had long lost all signs of life, and their bodies were already stiff. I found a large pine tree nearby and dug a hole to bury them. Then I continued searching the surrounding area. Chen Xuqing fired a shot yesterday, so the gun was most likely dropped nearby. After following the trail for over 200 meters, I finally found the gun Chen Xuqing had dropped on the ground. To my surprise, it was a Hanyang Type 88 rifle. This gun is more than enough to shoot a bear within 300 meters. Looking at the last 2 bullets left in the gun and thinking about the injured black bear from yesterday, I immediately grabbed the gun and tracked the blood trail. I crossed 2 mountain ridges along the way. Inside a birch forest, I noticed the bear's bloodstains and footprints had become chaotic. It was obviously nearby. I instantly went on high alert, unsure if the black bear would lunge out from some unexpected place. So I held the gun up, aiming around, and advanced carefully step by step. With a loud snap, before he had gone very far, a branch suddenly broke under my foot. The sound wasn't loud, but it was exceptionally sharp in the silent forest. I tensed up and raised my gun to scan the surroundings. Just 20 meters away, a black bear weighing over 200 kilograms was peeking at me from behind a birch tree. Its head had been grazed by a bullet, leaving its face covered in blood, and looking absolutely ferocious. Seeing the hunting rifle in my hands, the black bear instantly flew into a violent rage and charged at me madly. I suppressed my panic, focused, and took aim. I waited until it bypassed the birch tree, and its entire body was exposed before my eyes. Then I pulled the trigger. With a loud bang, a mist of blood erupted from the bear's head, but it didn't die. Instead, it roared and charged even more fiercely. Without hesitation, I chambered the final round and fired again. Unexpectedly, with a deafening blast, the gun barrel actually exploded. Damn it. I am doomed. Good thing I am not hurt. I hastily dropped the gun, pulled out my axe, turned and ran for my life. As I was running, I realized there was no sound behind me. I looked back. The bear had collapsed where I shot it, lifeless. I grabbed a birch branch and cautiously poked it a few times. After making sure it was dead, I pulled out my knife to process it. Soon enough, I extracted a charcoal gray bear gall. It was an iron gall. Bear galls have copper, iron, and grass types. Copper is the best, but an iron gall is still a rare treasure. I also cut off 2 bear paws, sliced some meat, and headed back with the ruined rifle. An hour later, I reached the dugout. I boiled the gall to dry it, but on second thought, I put it in my satchel, grabbed the rifle and 2 roe deer legs, and headed for Xiushan. Good news stays indoors, while bad news travels fast. The news of Chen Shuqing's accident had already spread in the village. Around noon, when I showed up carrying the deer legs, I immediately drew a lot of attention. People were pointing and whispering behind me, but I didn't care at all, though I knew where my future wife lived. Showing up unannounced felt too abrupt. So, I went to Wang Dimin's house first. Wang Dimin wasn't there. Li Qing answered the door. She smiled and said, "It's Xiao LV. Your uncle isn't home. Come in and sit." I said, "I trapped a roe deer yesterday. Brother Chen is badly injured, so I brought some meat for him. Is he still here?" "He's not here anymore. His family carried him home yesterday." Hearing this, I stopped right at the doorstep. "Since uncle and brother Chen aren't here, I won't go in. Keep this roe deer leg for yourself." "Oh, I shouldn't," Li Qing said politely, but she had already grabbed it. I took the chance to ask, "Auntie, could you point out brother Chen's house? I don't want to just show up there." Having received the meat, Li Qing was exceptionally warm. "Let's go. It'll take you there." Before long, we arrived at a shabby yard in the east. Li Qing shouted into the yard, "Is Xiuyu's mom home?" I looked around the yard. Everything here felt so familiar, and my heart pounded with excitement. The door opened, and a girl with braided hair, wearing a patched jacket, walked out. It was my past life's wife, Chen Xiyu. She smiled at Li Qing and said, "Auntie, come inside and sit." "I won't go in. I just brought Xiao LV over. He's the young man who saved Xuqing," Li Qing said and left with a smile. Knowing I was her brother's savior, Chen Ziyu's eyes widened instantly. She turned and shouted inside, "Mom, come out quick. Our benefactor is here." She turned back, hurried to open the gate. "Quick, please come inside." He didn't hesitate, and stepped right into the yard. It felt like crossing a hurdle in my heart. I was filled with excitement. Just then, a middle-aged woman with red eyes walked out. It was Chen Shuyu's mother, Ma Jinlan. She looked at me with deep emotion. "Thank you for saving my son." She was about to kneel down. I rushed forward to hold her up. "I just happened to be there. It's nothing, really. You really don't have to." This woman was Chen Shuyu's mother, Ma Jinlan. In my past life as a live-in son-in-law, she treated me like her own son. In my heart, she truly was my own mother. This isn't a small matter at all. Xiu Qing is our family's only boy. If anything happened to him, our family's world would collapse. "Auntie, I really can't accept this. If you keep this up, he'll have to leave." Seeing my firm attitude, Chen Zhiyu quickly chimed in. "Mom, let's invite our savior inside." Ma Jinlan finally gave in. She pulled me into the house and called out to Shuyu. "Shuyu, hurry up and start the fire. Let's make dumplings for him." Chen Shuyu agreed with a nod and happily went to the kitchen. Ma Jinlan led me to Shu Qing's bed. "Qingzi, look who's here. Your savior has come to see you." Shu Qing weakly turned his head, struggling to sit up. He quickly held him down. "Don't move. Just lie still. It'll be bad if your wounds reopen." Chen Xiu Qing opened his mouth, but didn't say a word. He obediently lay back down, though his eyes grew red. I handed the roe deer leg to Ma Jinlan. "Auntie, make some meat porridge for Xiu Qing with this." Ma Jinlan suddenly remembered something. She quickly took out some cash. "My savior, saving Qingzi is a massive favor. How can we take your things too? Please, take this money." I quickly pushed her hand back. "Auntie, Xiu Qing is badly injured, and your family needs this money. If you insist on this, you'll just be driving me away." "Mom, just keep it for now. Consider it a loan from him. I'll pay it back when I am better," Chen Xiu Qing quickly said. Ma Jinlan hesitated before putting the money away. "All right then, You two chat. I'll go help with the cooking. After she left, I sat by the bed and took off my rifle. I went to where you fought the bear. Those two dogs didn't make it. I buried them under the large pine tree. You can visit them later. Hearing this, Xuqing's face darkened, and his eyes turned red again, but he held back his tears. Also, I retrieved your gun. I used the 2 bullets inside. The second one misfired. The gun is ruined. I am sorry. I gently placed it on the bed. Misfired? Are you okay? Xuqing cried out in shock. I am fine. By the way, I heard you fire 3 shots in the woods yesterday. Why didn't you even grab your gun later? And ended up being chased out by a bear? Xuqing gave a bitter smile and recounted his encounter in the forest. I couldn't help but sigh after hearing it. Making a living in the deep mountains, no one can predict what accidents might happen. Normally, a black bear surrounded by hunting dogs in this season would climb a tree to hide. The hunter would just need to shoot from a distance. But Xuqing didn't expect that the black bear was being attacked by a swarm of bees, so it didn't dare climb a tree at all and was provoked into a fierce rage instead. To make matters worse, that spotted dog fled and even led the black bear right to him. In his panic, he didn't even have time to fire a 4th shot, which led to this whole accident. Perhaps this was fate. If I hadn't been reborn and returned here, and happened to witness this scene, I wouldn't have saved him, nor would I have been welcomed into this home so smoothly. The dumplings were soon steamed and ready. Ma Jinlin brought a large bowl each for me and Xuqing. Eat while they're hot. Having eaten nothing but wild game for days, my appetite instantly surged at the sight of dumplings. I devoured them one by one with great relish. But soon, I noticed something wasn't right. Ma Jinlin was just standing to the side, watching, her throat swallowing continuously. I instantly understood what was happening, put down my bowl, and walked toward the kitchen. I saw Chen Xiuyu adding firewood by the stove. Steam was rising from the pot, yet she was holding a bowl of corn gruel, drinking it herself. They had actually saved the very best for me. My heart ached. I can eat corn gruel too. You all should have some dumplings as well. You are our family's great benefactor. How could we let you eat that? Ma Jinlan followed me over and said, Is the family out of grain? I interrupted her directly. It's fine. Things will only get better from now on. Saying that, I took out that iron-like bear gall bladder and handed it to Ma Jinlin. This is the bear gall bladder from the bear brother Chen shot. It's worth quite a bit of money. The bear meat is still up in the mountains. I'll find someone to help haul it back for you later. After saying that, I strode right out the door, leaving the family stunned in place. Staring at my retreating back, not knowing what to say, I had already come to see this place as my own home, and treated this mother and her children as my own family. Seeing the current state of their household, I felt an inexplicable sadness in my heart. I secretly swore that I would definitely give this family a good life. Upon leaving the Chen family's home, I went over to Wang Demon's house. He was already back by this time. Seeing me, he warmly invited me inside for a meal. I didn't stand on ceremony either, and got straight to the point. Uncle, I'd like to ask for your help to transport some bear meat to the Chen family. Wang Demon had a great temper, and readily agreed. He immediately went to the stable to fetch his horse, hitched up the cart, and set off with me. We soon arrived at that birch forest. The two of us immediately got to work, skinning the bear and harvesting the meat and loading it onto the cart. It wasn't long before everything was packed up. Uncle, I'll leave the rest to you. Once you're back, keep 1 bear paw and some meat for yourself. Have them process the rest and store it away to eat gradually. Aren't you coming with me? Wang Demon asked. I won't be going. I am heading straight back to the dugout in the mountains. I smiled, and without waiting for him to say more, I turned and walked toward the mountains. Wang Demon looked at my retreating back, smiled knowingly, and muttered, What a good young man. Then he drove away. Having eaten a large bowl of dumplings, I wasn't in a hurry to return to the dugout, so I dug for wild vegetables in the woods. In early April, the Xing'an Mountains, apart from the evergreen plants, still looked quite bleak as far as the eye could see, and precisely because of this. The fresh green among the dead leaves was striking. Clusters of dandelions and wild garlic were scattered about. I didn't bring a hoe, so I just dug with my knife. Meanwhile, a squirrel scurried over, and I shot it down directly with my slingshot. By evening, I had dug up a large bundle of wild vegetables, enough to last for several days. Carrying the wild vegetables, I headed back. By the time I reached the dugout, it was already dark. Just as I was about to enter, a rustling sound came from the nearby woods. I immediately became alert, gripped the large axe at my waist, and turned toward the sound. A yellow figure slowly emerged from the trees. It was actually a yellow female dog covered in scars. Seeing it was just a local dog, my tense nerves finally relaxed. The female dog was also very cautious. She stopped right by the house, staring intently at me. I guessed she was probably a hunting dog, who had been badly injured and abandoned by her owner. Looking at the scars all over her body, a trace of pity welled up in my heart. I casually cut a few pieces of roe deer meat and tossed them over. The female dog warily took 2 steps back, looked at me, and then looked at the meat on the ground. She hesitated for a moment before stepping forward, and gulping it down in a few bites. Then I took a whole roe deer liver and walked up to her. This time, although she was still vigilant, she didn't retreat, and even wagged her tail at me. As I got closer, I could clearly see that besides a lot of mange on her body, there were various deep and shallow claw and tooth marks. Some had scabbed over, and some were still bleeding. Obviously, she had survived alone in the mountains for a long time, and had fought her fair share of wild beasts. What caught my attention even more was that her belly hung with swollen teats. She must have just given birth to pups, and was still nursing. I placed the liver on the ground and pushed it toward her. She looked at me, sniffed at the liver a few times, picked it up, turned around, and darted into the woods. It was already dark, making it inconvenient to go into the mountains, so I temporarily dismissed the thought of following her. Based on my understanding of dogs, since she had eaten here once, there was a high chance she would return. There would be plenty of opportunities later, so I stopped thinking about it for now. I crawled into the dugout, had a simple dinner, and began processing the bear meat. After working for over an hour, I finally plucked the bear paws clean, and rendered the bear fat. Although it only filled the jars I used previously, it was still enough to last for 10 days to half a month. Early the next morning, I was woken up by whining sounds outside. Opening the door to look, I immediately smiled. 3 pups that had just opened their eyes were playing in the clearing in front of the dugout. 1 black, 1 white, and 1 spotted, all chubby and incredibly cute. That yellow female dog lay quietly to the side, licking her wounds. I never expected the hunting dog I had longed for would actually deliver herself to my door with her pups. This female dog looked to have great potential. Her scars proved her rich fighting experience. Once her wounds healed, she would definitely be a capable hunting dog. I wasn't stingy either. I used my axe to chop off a chunk of bear meat, and walked up to the female dog. Seeing me come out, she quickly got up and wagged her tail, sniffed around me, and even licked my left hand. I gently stroked her rough fur, and handed the bear meat over. The mother dog didn't take it right away, but stepped back and tilted her head at me. Until I placed the meat on the grass, did she step forward, grab it, and walk aside. The 3 pups also clumsily ran over, sniffed around the bear meat, and opened their tender mouths to bite and lick it. I looked closely at the mother dog's wounds. The marks looked like cuts from a wild boar's tusks. She was hurt pretty badly, so I planned to go get some medicine from Wang Demon. Before even entering the village, I saw Wang Demon out in the fields, tending to the corn, stubble, and weeds. I hurried over and explained the situation. The old man was startled at first, then repeatedly praised her. That's a really good dog. I was taken aback for a moment, and realized this dog had an unusual history. Now I knew. This dog's name was Yuan Bao. She originally belonged to the village's top hunter, Liu Pao. She had hunted many large beasts alongside him, but 3 years ago, Liu Pao was accidentally killed by a giant bear in the mountains. Of all his hunting dogs, only Yuan Bao survived. After coming home, Yuan Bao refused to eat or drink, always trying to run back outside. The Liu family wanted to sell her at first, but right when the buyer came to get her, she bit through her rope and ran away. When they finally found her, she was lying right in front of Liu Pa's grave. Touched by the bond between dog and master, the family gave up the idea of selling her. They let her stay with Liu Pao. At first, they would go up the mountain to feed her, but as their lives got harder and harder, they gradually couldn't care for her anymore. Surprisingly, she did 0.75 grams a dirt hole by the grave and survived, becoming a stray dog without a master. I really didn't expect that this dog would actively seek you out. You two must be destined, Wang Demon said as he looked at me. Hearing the old man's words, I dropped the idea of just buying ointment. I wanted to ask him to see Yuan Bao's wounds in person. After our 2 interactions, Wang Demon already admired me quite a bit. He agreed immediately, fetched his medical kit from home, and set off with me. The 2 of us hurried along the mountain trail, and soon arrived at the dugout. Seeing the newcomer, Yuan Bao immediately stood up on high alert, baring her teeth with a low growl. Seeing this, Wang Demon timidly hid behind my back. I've taken a look. This dog is badly hurt. She needs an IV drip. But looking at her now, I am afraid she's hard to approach. I was also in a tough spot. I had only fed her twice myself, so we weren't really familiar. One wrong move and I might get bitten. But since the doctor was already here, I had to bite the bullet and try. I walked over to Yuan Bao's side and gently stroked her head. Be good. Yuan Bao, the old man is here to treat you. You can't bite him. Otherwise, your wounds will never heal. Perhaps upon hearing her familiar name, Yuan Bao softly whimpered twice, lowered her head and licked my hand, and stopped resisting. Seeing this, Wang Demon finally mustered the courage to step forward. He quickly found the vein and inserted the needle, and secured it with tape. Yuan Bao looked down at the needle in her paw, sniffed it, and surprisingly laid down obediently. The 3 pups took the chance to gather around and nurse, making little suckling noises. Looking at the mange on Yuan Bao's body, I asked the old man if there was a way to treat it. Wang Demon thought for a moment and suggested 2 methods. One was to boil vinegar and Sichuan peppercorns to wash it. The other was to wipe it with pork fat. I silently memorized this. It seemed I had to make a trip to the district town today to buy some vinegar and peppercorns and pick up some pork fat. Seeing that Yuan Bao was well behaved, Wang Demon suggested I remove the needle myself later. He would head back to the village first, promising to return tomorrow for another IV drip. I walked Wang Demon to the main road, then returned to the dugout. I started cooking while keeping an eye on Yuan Bao's IV. An hour later, The IV drip was finished. I removed the needle from Yuan Bao, tidied up a bit, and set off for the district town. The round trip took a while, and it was already evening when I neared Xiushan, but from a distance, I could hear coming from my dugout the fierce sound of a dog barking. My heart sank, and I broke into a run. Cresting the ridge, I saw a man in front of the dugout, swinging a stick at Yuan Bao. Yuan Bao was barking furiously, posturing to pounce. The man hadn't expected to encounter such a fierce hound. He could only swing his stick as he retreated, cursing bitterly, "I'll kill you sooner or later, you damn dog." Very quickly, the man ducked into the woods and vanished. I recognized him as Feng Dezu from Xiushan. He was a notorious lazybones and a petty thief to boot. Many families in the village had been robbed by him. He must have found out I hunted a black bear and came to steal the bear gallbladder while I was out. Little did he know, I had already given the bear gallbladder to the Chen family. It seemed I needed to warn Xu Yu's family to be on guard. Furthermore, since Feng Dezu had his eyes on Yuan Bao, I had to find a chance to teach him a severe lesson. Lost in these thoughts as I walked, I soon arrived back at the dugout. First, I boiled some pepper water in a large pot and let it cool. Then I stewed the plucked bear paws with spices. After making money in my past life, I'd eaten my share of delicacies, so I was confident in my meat stewing skills. While the bear paws were simmering, I mixed some vinegar into the pepper water. Following Wang Dimon's instructions, I washed Yuan Bao and her 3 puppies thoroughly. Then I brought the family of 4 over to warm up by the fire. By the time I finished tidying up, the bear paws were stewed to a tender perfection. I picked up a piece with my chopsticks. The meat jiggled delicately, looking bouncy and smooth. As soon as I put it in my mouth, a rich aroma spread across my palate. It tasted incredibly good. After a hearty and satisfying meal, I went to bed early. The next day, I wandered the woods again with my axe and slingshot, but didn't dare go too far. After all, Feng Dezu was still lurking around with malicious intent. I didn't want Yuan Bao, who had just accepted me, to be gone just like that. In the meadows frequented by rabbits and pheasant feeding grounds, I casually set up a few simple snares, then hurried back to the dugout. Right now, I was short on both manpower and weapons, and the hunting dogs are still just pups. I could only save up to buy basic gear first, and scrape by with small-scale hunting. By early evening, Wang Demon arrived right on time. Having already received an IV drip yesterday, Yuan Bao didn't bare her teeth at him today. This allowed Wang Demon to smoothly hook up her IV. Just as he was getting ready to head back to the village, I stopped him. "Uncle, stay and try my stewed bear paw today." Wang Demon's interest was piqued. He followed me inside and looked around. Seeing the dugout kept so neat and clean, he felt even more that I was a responsible young man. I offered Wang Demon a seat and told him about Feng Dezu causing trouble yesterday. At the mention of Feng Dezu, Wang Demon gritted his teeth in hatred. That punk, which family in the village hasn't been troubled by him? It's only because he has a wife and kids that people don't stoop to his level. We just have to hide our valuables well. My expression grew serious. I've already given the bear gallbladder to Chen Shuqing. I'll have to trouble you to personally go to the Chen family to warn them so he doesn't find a loophole. All right, I'll make a special trip back. Wang Demon readily agreed. Perhaps seeing my sincerity towards the Chen family, he was exceptionally enthusiastic. He felt relieved and quickly served the stewed bear paw and fried squirrel. Wang Demon took a bite, and his eyes immediately lit up. He cooked often, but had never tasted anything this good. The bear paw was soft and chewy, leaving a lingering flavor. The fried squirrel was spicy with a hint of pine nuts, getting tastier with every chew. He couldn't stop eating. Until his belly was perfectly round, did Wang Demon reluctantly put down his bowl and chopsticks. I should get going. It'll be dark soon if I don't. I still need to visit Qing's house. I didn't try to make him stay, handing him 5 fried squirrels. "Uncle, I'll leave the Chen family's matter to you. Don't worry, I'll definitely pass the message." Wang Demon paused and added, "By the way, see you from the Chen family. Came to ask me where you live this noon. She is a really good girl, smart and capable. It's a pity her father passed away early, so she's suffered a lot." After saying that, he carried the squirrels, waved his hand, and left. I smiled and watched his figure disappear around the corner. Before returning to the dugout, lying in bed that night, my mind was full of Chen Shuyu. Since Chen Shuqing is safe in this life, there's no need for me to marry into her family as a live-in son-in-law. To marry Chen Shuyu honorably and take good care of her is the responsibility and duty a man should have. For the next few days, I didn't wander far. I just managed the snares set in the woods near the dugout, hunted some squirrels, and foraged some leftover nuts, always staying within earshot of Yuan Bao's barks. I was worried Feng Dezu would return, but without catching him red-handed, there was no way to punish him. During this time, Yuan Bao's mange gradually cleared up, and new yellow fur grew in. She looked much more energetic than before. In a flash, 5 days passed by. Just when I thought Feng Dezu wouldn't come back, an accident happened anyway. Shortly after going up the mountain in the morning, I heard Yuan Bao growling and immediately turned back. Running to the hillside opposite the dugout, I could clearly see the situation below. Feng Dezu was sneaking around the dugout. Before he could get close, Yuan Bao confronted him, baring her teeth and growling. Holding a stick, Feng Deju guarded himself carefully while pulling something out of his bag, tying it to a rope and tossing it in front of Yuan Bao. I could tell at a glance he was trying to hook the dog. The so-called dog hooking simply means hiding nails or hooks inside food. Once the dog swallows it, he forcefully pulls the rope. As soon as the hidden objects get stuck in the dog's throat, it wouldn't even be able to bark. Seeing this, my heart tightened, and I sped up my pace, rushing down the mountain. Fortunately, Yuan Bao ignored what Feng Deju threw, only barking fiercer at him, lowering her body and slowly approaching, ready to attack at any moment. Having no choice, Feng Deju could only raise his stick to fend her off. But Yuan Bao wasn't afraid at all, nimbly dodging the stick and seizing a chance to bite him, refusing to let go. Feng Deju panicked immediately, threw away the stick right away, and picked up a rock to smash her. Just then, I rushed over, pulled back my slingshot, and with a snap, the stone hit his calf perfectly. As if receiving an order, Yuan Bao fiercely pounced and bit him. I quickly yelled, "Yuan Bao, stop!" Hearing my voice, Yuan Bao obediently stepped back, but kept baring her teeth at Feng Deju, growling threateningly. I breathed a sigh of relief, walked up to Feng Deju, and slapped him a few times. Feng Detsu, don't think I don't know what you're up to. Trying to steal the bear gallbladder? Think I am easy to bully because I am an outsider? I think you have a death wish. You better remember this. I've got nothing but my life. If you dare come back, I won't hesitate to kill you. I can always just run away. Feng Deju had never seen anyone so ruthless. He knew I wasn't joking. If he had been a step slower, he'd probably be dead. He fell to his knees and begged for mercy. I wasn't thinking straight. I shouldn't have targeted the gallbladder. I'll never do it again. With that, he scrambled up and limped off into the woods. Not until he was out of sight did I crouch down and gently pat Yuan Bao's head. I thought to myself, what a good dog. Protective, smart, obedient, and highly experienced in combat. She wouldn't even eat from strangers. Suddenly, I felt deep respect for Liu Pao, who trained such a great dog. Now that Yuan Bao is with me, it's time